is WOCA, News Talk 1370. Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala!
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I remember when I first moved to Florida, my parents, I was just a kid at the time, my parents found a church in Rainbow Lakes Estates, and it was a little tiny church, and we had moved from an area in New York where the church that we had attended was big. Not big by today's standards. Mega churches are huge, but it was a big church. But still, the little one that we started going to when we first moved down here had one person in its confirmation class, and that was my sister, Doreen. And it was so interesting to. And I remember when they had the confirmation ceremony. It was the church I came from. There was a whole classroom. It was like a graduating class. That's how big it was, the confirmation class. Robin, you moved from Milwaukee. Did you get confirmed in Milwaukee?
Yes, I did.
And you had the same religion.
We had about 40 people in our confirmation
That's
class.
about what I remember. So the little one I was just telling the audience about was the one my sister went to, and she was 7 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. But anyway, there was a tiny little church. But here's the thing I remember about it. There was something really cool about it. There was something really cool about this little church, this very, very unassuming pastor, a very unassuming congregation. And I remember they were there for each other, and including my family, whenever there was a need for people to get together. Sharon Burgess probably knows a lot about little churches and big churches. She's an advocate, among other things, she's an advocate for children and adults with mental and physical disabilities. She holds an honorary doctorate degree in humanities. She's the founder of something called Country Girls, starting with a K. I think it's an entertainment company, if I understand right. And she's got a book. It's called Unraveled Faith. She wants to talk to us about the mega churches and the little churches and comparing the two. Good morning, Sharon. How are you?
Good morning, Larry and Robin. Thanks for having me on your show this morning.
Oh, you're welcome. Where are you right now? Where are you calling from?
I am in Snellville, Georgia.
What town?
Snellville.
Snellville. Where's that?
Yeah, it's a little town outside of Atlanta, about 25 miles from Atlanta.
Oh, nice. And so the little town, you know what I always picture? You know what I always want? You want to know what I want? I want to have Christmas. I want to have Christmas one year in a town that looks like the Christmas cards. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I want to have
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a little town, and if you stand on the hill, the tallest building is the steeple of the church, right? That's what I want. I want to be in I want my Christmas to be that one year.
But definitely you can have that, but it probably won't be in the southern states. You'll probably have to go up north.
Oh, for the snow part of it.
No.
For the snow part of it, yeah.
Yeah, there won't be the snow.
But picture an old painting or something it could be a southern town. It doesn't have to be a Christmas scene. But you remember that little landscape? It would show the town, and the tallest building in the town was the church steeple. Remember that?
Yeah. I remember those days. Yeah.
So I've always wanted to, and I guess. I'm not there here. This is a small town, but not that small. Not like that was. And anyway, so what is it called? Snellville? What is that town like?
It's a small town. Although every little small town surrounding Atlanta in the last 5 years has grown, every town grows astronomical because what people do is migrate to Atlanta and then move to the outskirts and the little towns surrounding Atlanta and also the other smaller townships. So even though it's small, it's growing rapidly. I don't think there's anything considered really small in the surrounding Atlanta areas anymore, unless you go to North Georgia or South Georgia.
Oh, nice. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the mega churches. That's one of the topics you want to talk about. And I've been to one, And I didn't have a bad experience there, but let me tell you my thoughts. It's not about the experience as much as the thoughts. The thoughts were, this was like a rock concert. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what it was like. And there were big screen TVs, and I could see the pastor's nostrils really good. I did not get the feeling like I could approach him easily. Now, maybe I could have. I probably could have, but I didn't get that feeling. I got more of a feeling that I was at a place where the guy and the people up on that stage, which it's even weird to call a church a stage.
Yeah.
But it looked like a stage to me.
Pulpit.
Yeah, and that's
so you felt you were like at a concert, maybe. Right,
and they were unapproachable. I wasn't a member, so probably they are approachable. And so, what is your thoughts about those churches?
Thanks for asking, Larry. Well, my experience is somewhat similar to yours. Initially going to a mega church and not knowing anyone, the feeling was I was at almost like a concert, and there was a stage, and there was this bigger-than-life person delivering this mesmerizing sermon, and being from a small church, I didn't get that feeling of that I was there, and it could be my own personal experience. I'm not saying everyone experiences this. I didn't get the true feeling that I was there to worship God. At first, I was overwhelmed by the magnitude of the size, the people, all of the little nuances that go along with the mega churches, the taping, all the other ministries involved there. So it's quite an overwhelming experience if you go in for the first time.
Yeah.
But as I went again and again, some of the sermons were really, really thought-provoking. And really got me to look at things a little bit differently spiritually. But when it came down to the bottom line, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about my family. It was about it was more about the giving and the gaining. There were people that I looked around in the church, and they looked poorer than me. And I am a single working mother, and I work every day. But with the pastor driving a Maserati and a Bentley, I'm thinking, that might be a little something wrong.
Right, exactly.
Okay, all right. Now, do you have? Can we separate a little bit the televangelists from the mega churches, because there are two different things? And here's the unfair thing: we're doing something very unfair right now. So I want to point this out. We're doing blanket statements, and that's always unfair because every mega church isn't necessarily what we're saying, and every televangelist is not what we're saying. I have supported many of the televangelists. Well, not many, but some that I felt were legit. Others I dismissed as being phonies. Simple. So.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Larry. Yes, we're not talking about those churches that really support the community, provide services for the community and outside of the community as well. They're giving back because people are pouring into them. And we're not talking about those. We're talking about those money-building monstrosities that absorb monies and live a lavish lifestyle and really, truly do not have a heart for what God desires us to do and to give and to support. That's what we're talking about. And we're talking about spending money to support their own lifestyle, and there are great needs within their church. That's what I'm talking about. Of course, there are mega churches that are awesome and do an awesome job. So don't call in saying we're talking about all mega churches. It's just the ones that are not supportive of their community and are supporting their financial habits.
And it seems like the people that go to those kind of churches that aren't really giving back to the community, they just, the people that go there seem like they're just sucked into this kind of thing, and all common sense goes out the window.
Can we put this on hold just for a second? We have to take a little break. I love this topic, and of course we have to be careful not to seem like we're bashing anybody.
Absolutely.
But there is a certain element here that needs to be looked at, and that's what we want to do. So we'll be right back. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accidents. Sunshine followed by increasing clouds today. The shower and thunderstorm in some areas this morning, then a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon, some with flooding downpours. The high today, 87 to 91. A shower and thunderstorm around early tonight, then partly cloudy later tonight, though 72 to 76. For tomorrow, partly sunny with a couple of afternoon thunderstorms, the high 87 to 91. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Central Florida Eye Institute is the area's leader in laser vision correction. From high-definition refraction surgery and LASIK vision correction to custom cataract, glaucoma, and diabetic treatment, you can count on Dr. Crowley and his effective, friendly staff to provide you with the quality care you deserve. Call 352-237-8400 for an appointment or more information. That number again is 352-237-8400. Looking forward to service your vision needs.
One of the most common questions those nearing retirement are asking: will I outlive my money? Retirement questions like these and many more will be answered every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement with hosts Francois and Julian Pozenet. Francois and Julian will help you put your retirement puzzle together. Catch Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement Saturdays at 9 a.m. on Ocala's News Talk, The Source 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
All right, 14 minutes before 10 o'clock, we will return to our interview. Real quickly, though, I want to thank Dr. Thomas Crowley, a board-certified ophthalmologist, for sponsoring this portion of AM Ocala Live. He is with the Central Florida Eye Institute, and they are located not far from the Paddock Mall, where we broadcast from. In fact, if you know the mall and you know the Sears side of the mall, there's an office complex just across the street, sort of kind of behind those trees over there, and that's where his office is. The address is 3133 Southwest 32nd Avenue. The phone number to the Central Florida Eye Institute is 237-8400, and the website is centralfloridaeye.com. All of your eye care needs can be addressed there. Anything from something as simple as an eye exam and eyeglasses to something more complex as retinal surgery, diabetic eye treatment, even cosmetic procedures are all done there. Dr. Thomas Crowley, thank you for sponsoring this portion of AM Ocala Live, and everybody else, go to the Central Florida Eye Institute and make sure your eyes are remaining healthy throughout your lives. Sharon Burgess is on the phone. Her book is called Unraveled Faith. We're talking about the mega churches and our thoughts on them. Is that what the book is about, Sharon?
Well, it is highlighting the mega churches, but what I like to really highlight more than anything is that these experiences, negative or positive with mega churches, they should bring us to a higher level of thought when it comes to worship and when it comes to God. And like Robin was saying earlier, that people get drawn in. We should be drawn into to God and not to that rock star persona that leads the congregation. So the book is really about finding faith and redemption after going through some hurts and some challenges with the mega churches. And as you know, there's been a lot of things in the news about mega churches where pastors, their immoralities, they're spending money that they shouldn't have, embezzlement and so forth. And that's very hurtful to a congregant that has sat in those churches for that long, and they've worshipped this person, idolized this person, and kind of put them on a pedestal, and we shouldn't put anyone on a pedestal.
Absolutely, so, should not put people on pedestals. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I love pop music. I love rock music. I love well-done country music. But there's a place and a time for everything. And call me old-fashioned. I guess I deserve that title. I'm 60 after all. But I have gone into St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York, which you could argue is a megachurch because it's gigantic. But there's something about that old-fashioned. It's not old-fashioned. What is that music they play in there? I don't even know. It's like from the Monks or something. But
the hymnals, the old hymnals.
Right, there's something about it that brings you closer to
traditional.
Yeah, to feeling like you're
traditional.
Like
yes,
something like oh gosh, I'm in the presence of something greater than me. Like rock music is great, but it's very earth. It's a very earth thing, a very worldly thing.
That's more contemporary.
And maybe I'm just old. Who knows? But I guess to each his own.
Yeah, I think the music, like you said, each his own. I think the music is one part because you have a younger crowd that you're trying to appeal to. So if they worship and can feel God that way, I think that is totally okay. But I'm really focusing on people really setting themselves apart from the hoopla of the church and really focusing in on God. And I don't know what that means for each individual. And also those that have been hurt by church leaders and have found things out that come out to be really truthful, and then they're hurt and then they stray away from the church, then you need to take a second thought on your whole worship. What is that about? Who are you really calling God? Are you going to that church because you're stuck in a tradition, you can't get out of it, and you've just lost your way? And then once hurt comes, and because we're all fallible, once things happen, then we just want to run away from God. Well, let's don't do that.
Right.
Let's take a second look at ourselves.
The church, in my mind, and I'm sure you agree with this, is not the walls; it's the people in the church, and the church is not the pastor. The church is the people, and I can think of a story, and I'm sure many people in Ocala remember this story of a church in Ocala that was very disappointed to learn that the direction that the congregation was being led, as far as their investments, turned out to be a big scam, and the pastor was basically making money from these fake investments.
Exactly.
But it wasn't the church that did that, because the church is the people. It was that one guy who was called the leader of the church, the pastor.
Yeah.
He was ousted. He was ousted and replaced, and the church moves on and is healthy and vibrant and does feel like a place of worship. But it's not always. So when you say that people have been in the news for misconduct, that's the reason I guess we go to church, is to correct that. But you don't want it to come from the guy at the front.
No.
Let me ask you this: are you okay with taking calls from listeners? I've got a few things lit up here.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me. I've been making them wait long enough. Good morning. Thank you for waiting. You're on the air with Sharon Burgess.
Yeah, Jared, it's me, Tom. You know me. You know me from the day you were born. First off, when I was born, Dad and Mom dedicated me Baptist. Then when Bob was born and
go ahead.
He became. We both became Methodist. We were baptized Methodist.
Right.
Then after that, years later, I married Beth. And she was Catholic, and I became a part of the Catholic Church. And it's not because I was a cradle Catholic, it's because I did some reading, I did some research, I did whatever. And one of the biggest things I remember, one of the biggest things I keep in mind is Christ saying, I am the vine, and from my vine there are many
okay, so the point would be
limbs. Many limbs. There's many limbs.
Right.
So it doesn't matter which limb you follow, as long as the limb you follow brings you back to Christ.
Okay, and I think that's what Sharon is trying to say here.
I know that. It's kind of hard to hear that over the air, but I'm just saying.
All right, Sharon, I think you would agree with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. We're not certainly not knocking any particular denomination, but what we're saying here in the book is that it should be about God. If you're part of the vine, if you're holding on to that vine, people get sucked in, and that listener, I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but people get sucked into a lot of things in the church, and they forget that the worship is about God. So what we're trying to do is raise the level of consciousness in whatever church you're in, that God is the reason for your worship.
I think a lot of times the churches struggle financially, and they contemplate, well, let's see what we can do to bring more people in, and the decisions to do that are successful. But at the same time, I often wonder if they don't happen in sacrificing that whole worship feeling. Let me take another phone call real quickly. Good morning. You're on the air. Thank you for calling.
Good morning. Interesting conversation. This is Jim from Anthony.
Yeah.
I agree with you about the mega churches. We attend a church that has 3 morning services. There are a couple thousand people in the services, yet it has a small church feeling because of the different home groups that we have, that everybody can get connected and get involved in the church. We also have ministers in the church, usher, greeter, parker, singer, musicians, etc. But the majority of the work of our church is done by volunteers, active members.
That's a good
and
point.
You are encouraged to do that.
That's a good
when
point.
you become a member of our church.
Yeah.
Our pastor preaches a practical gospel, the application of the word to your everyday life. He's a teaching preacher. He teaches every Sunday in 3 morning services and an evening service and a Wednesday morning service, a Wednesday night service. Pastor Tim is an humble person. The last accounts I had, he was driving a Jeep because he likes to vacation in the mountains. He wants to make sure his vehicle takes
Got to be
the family
careful
through it.
what you drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. We're up against the clock, but
It's important to be discerning about where you give your money and listen to exactly what's being preached, compare it to the Word, and I think that's what makes our church successful.
There you go.
It's a helping, caring church.
Thank you. I appreciate
Very good
that.
comment.
Yeah,
very good comment. Seems like your pastor's got it right.
Sharon, I think you've hit on a topic that is very much a topic that will get people talking. So I appreciate that. I'm sorry to the listeners who aren't able to get through just because we're out of time. But there's a book. It's called Unraveled Faith. So Sharon, if you could tell us how to get the book and give us a little kind of, I don't know if we've been fair to the book. So tell us what's in the book. We've got a good 3 minutes. You should be able to squeeze something in there.
Yeah, I can sum it up. Yes, you can go purchase the book at Amazon.com. It's called Unraveled Faith. And a brief synopsis of the book is a young lady who is from the rural South, and she moves to Atlanta, Georgia, and becomes involved in the big mega church. And she and her friend uncovered a lot of misdealings in the church. So they had to go through a series of heartbreaks to really understand that God is the reason that we go to church. So this book is about redemption and restoration, and it takes you through a series of emotional highs and lows, but it's very thought-provoking, and it's a great read. It's for those people that are on the borderline, wanting to leave church, wanting to step away from the whole hoopla of the mega church. This book brings you back to a deeper thought of who God is, and I hope you enjoy reading it. It's a love story, and I think that this would give you a great sense of finding God and who you are in the whole process of your spiritual journey. Thank you.
And your involvement with the church, real quick, a little quick bio on yourself. Your husband is a pastor, is that right?
Well, I'm divorced. I was married to a pastor, and that's why a lot of these things I know firsthand.
Okay, all right.
And my father is currently a pastor, so I've worked in the church all of my life, and I know how things can go awry, and people can get misled and mesmerized by the whole persona of the meganess. So a mega church does not mean bigger God, does not mean you're going to get more money, does not mean anybody is more godly. So this is a thought-provoking book,
that
and
is
I
all
hope you
true.
love it.
Yeah. Real quick, the one thing I don't think you get from a mega church, and this is not to say that they have any ill intent, but it's just the fact that you have so many people. When you're in a small church and the pastor's at the pulpit and she says, I just want to let you know that Martha is in hospice, and please say a prayer for Martha. Everybody in the small church knows who Martha is.
Yes, for sure.
When the pastor at a mega church says something like that, they have to say the last name first of all. And then everybody says, "Oh gosh, I don't think I've met her." You know, it's just too big. So, and I think I like the idea that the pastor can simply say, you know, a first name, pray for her. She's in the hospital, or celebrate because she's better. You know, and I think that's what I like about the smaller ones. The book Unraveled Faith. The website is SharonBurgess.com. Sharon, thank you so much.
Sharon at unraveledfaith.com.
Sharon at unraveledfaith.com. Okay.
That's right, but you can visit my website as well that you just mentioned.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. John Kerry becomes the first U.S. Secretary of State on Cuban soil in 70 years. He's presiding over a ceremony later today.
The American flag will fly at the newly reopened U.S. Embassy in Havana, Cuba. While in Havana, Kerry will take a brief tour of the city and meet with several public officials. But he's not slated to meet current President Raul Castro or his brother, former President Fidel Castro, who claims his country is owed millions in damages from the U.S.
Fox's Jackie Ibanez. Greek lawmakers cast votes on a deal to increase tax